Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Beer and Money. My name is Ryan Burklow.
And I'm Alex Collins.
And as always, Alex and I like to have a lot of fun before we record this. And I informed Alex how loud he can possibly be. It doesn't show up on his end of things, but shows up on,
Like at all. Like
yeah.
I was moving the mic around and like I couldn't hear a single thing. And Ryan was cringing because of how loud it was.
Yeah. So for those of you watching us on YouTube or even listening, that's what we're laughing about. Welcome to the show. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about 5 wealth objectives that we believe everyone has, yet most people's planning that we see isn't actually aligning with these objectives.
Yeah, these are things that like we'll walk through them and everybody will be like, "Oh, yeah, that's exactly what I'm after." And nobody actually thinks about it in those terms, and therefore nobody plans in that way. Or I shouldn't say nobody. Very few people naturally think about it in these terms, and don't, as a result, don't pursue it this way. So it's because they're not taught any of this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the fun thing to talk about. The focus tends to be in other areas around investment and rates of return, because those tend to be the funner, if that's a word, conversations to have. Before we dive into here today, Mr. Collins, what are you drinking?
Today I am drinking Deschutes Twilight. It's a limited release. It clocks in only at 38 IBUs, 5% alcohol. Just Deschutes does some wonderful stuff.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Deschutes.
And this is it. Go ahead.
It's out of Oregon. Great brewery.
Yeah, I mean, this is just it's a Northwest like IPA, but it's not going to crush you in terms of like the hops or the alcohol or anything of that nature. It's designed more for like just kind of like being out in nature and having a nice beer.
Love it.
And it succeeds wonderfully.
Well, I was at Black Raven Brewery this past weekend. It was, upper 50s, sunny in Seattle here, which is in April, rather not the norm.
You don't say.
Yeah, exactly. The color caught my eye. It's called Samish Hazy or Haze, as the name suggests. It's a hazy IPA, and it clocks in at a 7.1% alcohol. Have you had this one before, Alex?
I have. I'm a big fan. I mean, I don't think Black Raven puts out a bad beer. So if you get a chance to be in the Woodinville, Redmond area, absolutely go check out Black Raven.
Yeah. So solid hazy. It's not as hazy as I've seen others have. So not as cloudy, but solid IPA, and it's Black Raven. So I'm very biased and I like it. Yeah, just call it what it is.
A good beer.
So let's dive into this. So Alex and I were at a conference, and this is the second episode we've brought up this conference. It's always a good sign when you go to a conference and you have several takeaways from it that you continually talk about. Actually, you remember and you talk about it after the conference. Because how many times do we go to a conference and we think of it like, oh, that's a really good idea. We come back in the normal sauce of life and we never talk about it again.
And this isn't something that we learned per se at the conference. This is more of like something that we were reminded of.
Yeah, absolutely. So 5 wealth objectives we think everyone has, right? Let's just list these 5 wealth objectives here to begin with, Alex. So number 1, most people are trying to create the highest possible cash flow in their life, right? That's today and into retirement.
And the second part of that is they want to create the lowest possible tax and the lowest possible tax rate on that cash flow.
And of course, number 3 would be we never want to run out of that money or that cash flow coming our way.
And number 4 is we want to make sure that whatever our legacy objectives are, that we meet them.
Which can be ever changing, as Alex and I definitely learned from clients that were in their 40s and all of a sudden they get to retirement and that happens, right? That's called growing up.
Folks that start retirement and like 5 years later have an entirely different set of objectives.
Exactly. And then that gets us to number 5 is we want to accomplish all of this while minimizing the risk to accomplish it.
Yeah.
And, when you look at all these 5, really what it's saying is like, look, I want to have enough money coming in the door so that I can live my life the way that I want. I don't want to pay very much in taxes. Again, like pay the taxes to make sure that, the kids are getting their education, right? That kind of stuff. But they want to minimize it because, again, we want the highest amount of money coming our way to live the life that we want. We don't want to outlive that money. We want the money to always be coming in the door. Whatever's left over, or if we have enough wealth, we would want that money to go to the people that we care about and in the way that we want it to occur.
Family, charities, etc.
And then how do we do that? Well, we don't want to take on a ton of risk to accomplish all of this.
When I that last one, I think is going to be super interesting because so many people are taught that with risk comes reward. And other people are taught, well, right, but when there's risk, there's a chance that it won't work. Yeah. And so like there's a dichotomy there of understanding what's possible without taking on too much risk. And one of the things is once we reach sufficiency, once we reach our stated goals of cash flow, great. Then at that point, now let's take on more risk with all of the rest of the money, but we don't want to take on more risk or lower the probability of success with the money that we need to create the cash flow to accomplish our goals.
Yeah, said another way, we were, Vince said this once, Alex, if I'm not mistaken, where he said some version of most people, if they could get 100% of the possibility of their wealth, like they had that type of possibility and the risk associated with it, but they could but it's not 100% guaranteed, right? There's a higher risk with that. Or 95%, you can get 90 to 95% of the possible wealth available to you and take dramatically lower risk. Inevitably, most people choose that one. They'd rather take lower risk to get 90 to 95% of the possibility of their wealth than risk it all to get 100% of it.
Yeah, and that has to do with like probability of outcome and certainty and things of that nature. Once people truly understand like the amount of risk that they're taking to get that extra little bit, most people are like, "Oh, why would I ever do that?"
Exactly. So let's transition to like why we think many people aren't like these are their wealth objectives for the most part, yet they're not planning for these objectives in the way that they probably should. And really, I think what this comes down to is what the media and what most people talk about. I kind of hinted at it when we first started this episode. What most people talk about is like, what's your number? What's the rate of return to get to that number? That's it.
Yeah, there was a great commercial, and I'm not going to name the financial company, but like people were walking around with a number over the top of their head. And like it was a great awareness campaign. And it did a tremendous amount of disservice to people because they started focusing on that and not what that actually accomplished for them. Like, don't get me wrong, more information, more focus, better. And if we're not focusing on what you actually are trying to accomplish, we're focusing on the wrong thing, or we're only looking at half the picture.
Yeah, so let's just pick this apart real quickly. And I love, like, let's just stick with that commercial, right? Let's just use for fun, we're going to use a $10 million figure. That's the number in this instance. That's our avatar. $10 million is hovering over their head. That's the number that they need to get to. So with that $10 million figure, and based on that commercial, it's like, okay, that's what they need, and they'll be good. Well, we would question that to maybe that's the case, because let's go into the wealth objectives. Number one, let's create the highest possible cash flow. Okay, if the $10 million is encapsulated in an investment, but that investment opportunity, the cash flow that comes from that, from a risk standpoint, a whole bunch of pieces that go into that, only kicks off $200,000 a year. Okay, is $10 million the figure? Maybe you wanted $400,000 a year.
Well, based on that, now you need 20 million.
Right. So that's number one. Well, number two, okay, what's the taxability when you're kicking off the income stream from that $10 million figure? How much of that is taxed?
Well, let's go back to the $200,000 example. If none of it is taxed, like, okay, cool. We got $200,000 of net cash flow. If all of it's taxed and it winds up being taxed at a high tax rate, like, okay, maybe we only get to enjoy 120 or $150,000 of that 200. Okay, now what does that do to our number? And most of the time, people aren't necessarily thinking about it, and a lot of it is because, hey, Ryan, how much taxes are you going to pay in retirement?
No idea.
Right, and you and I know our stuff. We're going to be able to get a heck of a lot closer to whatever that number is in retirement than the average person.
Yep.
Like we'll have conversations where folks don't understand that their social security is up to 85% taxable. Like I've had conversations where like I'm asking somebody like, okay, cool. How much do you want net of taxes? And they're like, what do you mean? Like, okay, well, when you get to retirement and you're starting to pull money out of your retirement accounts, how much do you want net of taxes? Well, haven't I already paid taxes on all of it? No.
Yeah.
Oh,
Look, we've recorded episode upon episode about like the location of your wealth and how it's taxed. So make sure you definitely are checking that out. In the end, like if you're not getting the point yet, like the big point is as we're doing a financial plan, we should be building towards how we're turning these assets into an income stream in the most efficient manner with legacy objectives in mind and taking the lowest amount of risk possible. Like if we could summarize like how we help our clients, that's what we do.
yeah.
Like it's that simple. And we take it with that planning mindset rather than, well, let me just talk about rate of return and let me talk about how big of a number I could possibly get you with the minimum amount of savings that you possibly could have.
Yeah. And it's really interesting to like start exploring some of these mindsets and like trying to like everyone thinks about budgeting as like a 4-letter word, and like with our clients who actually like go through a bunch of this exercise, when we do proper budgeting, it actually frees people up so that they go, oh, cool. So I've got this amount of money, whatever, like 10%, 20%, whatever amount of their budget isn't allocated towards saving, protecting their income, paying taxes, and their basic lifestyle. They're like, oh, okay, cool. I can spend that 10%, 20%, whatever the number is, on whatever the heck I want. Yep. And I don't have to worry about it. Yep. We just need to systematically save 20%. We need to protect our income. We need to make sure our bills are paid. After that, have fun. Do whatever the heck you want. Oh, when budgeting goes from a 4-letter word to this just expression of freedom.
Look, all any of us really want is we want to spend our time where we want to spend our time. And the only way to do that is to have the financial revenue, income, cash flow, whatever word you want to use out there coming in the door to suffice that lifestyle, whatever lifestyle that might be, right? Maybe that, that could be living in the woods, but you still have to go buy the machete.
The cabin.
Why I chose machete, I don't know. But, I think if you live in the woods, you need a machete.
Maybe. Maybe.
Look, we watched Survivor this past weekend. Some machetes in my...
Okay, that makes way more sense.
Right? You need flint to start a fire. Survivor still. But the point is either way, right? Unless you're going to live in the woods and do everything yourself. And even then it's hard to do without any money coming in the door, like some amount of money, right? Because maybe you need to go buy a tool, right?
Like matches.
Right. So no matter what lifestyle you have, some amount of income's got to be coming in the door for that. And you should be planning with that in mind, not planning with, well, what's the minimum amount I can save and what rate of return can I expect and rely upon essentially, or hope upon is how I like to use that term, hope upon, so that when I want to stop working voluntarily or maybe involuntarily, when I'm forced to stop working, that that number is big enough to pay me enough to live my life. How much is wrong with that statement?
Well, we also talked a lot at the conference about single point of failure, and that the biggest single point of failure in anyone's financial plan is their most aggressive assumption, whether it's rate of return, whether it's taxation, whether it is reliability of income, like whatever it is, the most aggressive assumption is going to be that single point of failure. And so that's why number 5 on that list of accomplish all of the above while minimizing risk is so important, because it's one of those things where, like, okay, if we're shooting for $200,000 of income, and based on using sound financial strategy and better methods of planning, we think that we can get there on less than $10 million. Maybe it only takes, I don't know, $4 million to get there. And so we're planning towards that. And now we overshoot our savings goal. And instead of ending up at 4, we end up at 6. Like, okay, that's going to make it so that like all of the rest of it becomes that much easier, and not the other way around.
You know, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they said something that really, it kind of hit me over the head, even though I inherently kind of knew this. And they're talking about, like, you were bringing up single point of failure, and they were speaking into rate of return. And what they're saying is, look, we can't predict what rate of return you're going to have. The best predictor, and it's not even a predictor, but the best thing to look at is, what year were you born? And that's what I did. I shook my head. I was like, what do you mean by that? And all of a sudden they go, look, if you were born in, and they started going through different like times. If you're born in 63, like I'm making up a year, 63 up until 2003, guess what? Your rate of return was X. And I'm making up a number here. Let's just say the rate of return was 8%. But if you were born in 1973, now that same 30-year time horizon, now your rate of return is 6. Because the markets, you don't know what the market's going to do in that time horizon. And it just kind of hit me in the head like, holy smokes, like that's a big factor. What year were you born? Because even if you live for 120 years, it still has a huge effect, because not only in the accumulation years, but when you start to distribute the funds, you don't know what's going to happen. They always talk about the average rate of return, but that doesn't take into consideration what you personally experienced.
There's 2 things there's a couple things that are hitting me as you're talking about this, Ryan. One,
here we go.
We don't have any control over that.
I know.
We don't have any control over
which
what
is
year
why
we were born.
He said it in jest after, but when I think I was like tuning him out for a second,
Sure.
And then I said that. But anyways,
number 2, we have no idea if the year in which you were born is a good year or a bad year until after it's happened and we're looking backwards. So like, yes, that might be the best predictor, but it is an unknowable one.
But his point was valid in the fact that everybody always talks about the average return.
Nobody ever gets the average.
Based on what period of time, like, right? There's so many different factors there that average rate of return statement isn't really that, like, I guess it can provide you some amount of guidance, I guess, but it's still not predictive of how you're going to do personally from a rate of return standpoint.
Heck, just look at the Dalbar studies. Like the average rate of return of the markets, the financial markets, compared to what investors actually receive because of poor investor behavior.
Well, this has nothing to do with behavior, though.
Right. But like, that's another factor that goes.
It's another variable in it. So we're going like way off course into, well, kind of off course. But the point of the matter is everyone has these 5 objectives that we just said, right? Highest possible cash flow, lowest possible tax, never run out of money, meet your legacy objectives, and minimizing the risk to do all of those. And the question is how are you planning to accomplish that? Are you planning from a rate of return only, like a number over the top of your head plan, like you need X million dollars? Or are you planning with the standpoint of how am I going to turn my assets into an income stream in the most efficient manner?
And it makes a huge difference both in the thought process, in how you go about planning, in all of the other things that we've discussed on previous podcasts, like the location of our money, where we put money now versus later, how we shift that over time. All of that goes into the larger picture of how do you effectively and efficiently create retirement income planning. And yes, these are the 5 things that we need to think about. But at the same time, everyone's situation is unique. And so just because we go through these same 5 things does not mean that your plan is going to be the exact same as your neighbor's plan. In reality, they're probably going to be dramatically different because you're different people. You've got different objectives. You've got different resources. You've got all of these things change. Now, we still want to go through the same process. We still want to look at it through the same lens. And looking at it through the same lens means that we're going to come up with similar type concepts, but they're going to be tailored to you, the individual, whether it's us doing the planning or somebody else, is how it should work and feel.
So I stole your thunder, Alex. The transition to question of the day. So
you're good at this. So the question of the day is, are you planning from a cash flow mindset, or are you planning from a net worth or rate of return mindset?
So head over to beerandmoney.net, and that's where you'll find several of the other episodes we've recorded that are built inside of this today's conversation. Or if any of this, what we spoke about today, brought up any questions for you, it's a great spot at the top of that page there. There's a contact us. You can email us with any questions that you might have. Look, we started this podcast to help you look differently about your money, learn how to take action steps in this money. I realize what I just said there. Help you learn to take better steps with your money so that you can live the life that you want to live. As always, we hope this episode is valuable for you. And Mr. Collins,
cheers.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not to be construed as tax, legal, or investment advice. Although the information has been gathered from sources believed to be reliable, please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information should be relied upon only when coordinated with individual professional advice. Guest speakers and their firms are not affiliated with or endorsed by Park Avenue Securities, Guardian, or Quantified Financial Partners, and opinions stated are their own. Guardian, its subsidiaries, agents, and employees do not provide tax, legal, or accounting advice. Consult your tax, legal, or accounting professional regarding your individual situation. All investments and investment strategies contain risk and may lose value. This material is intended for general public use. By providing this content, Park Avenue Securities, LLC is not undertaking to provide investment advice or a recommendation for any specific individual or situation, or to otherwise act in a fiduciary capacity. Please contact a financial representative for guidance and information that is specific to your individual situation. Ryan and Alex are registered representatives and financial advisors of Park Avenue Securities, LLC. OSJ 200 Market Street, Suite 1850, Portland, Oregon 97201. Phone number 503-221-1226. Securities products and advisory services offered through Park Avenue Securities, member FINRA, SIPC. Financial representatives of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, Guardian, New York, New York. Park Avenue Securities is a wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. Quantified Financial Partners is not an affiliate or subsidiary of Park Avenue Securities or Guardian. Ryan Burklow, CA Insurance License Number 0K24924. Alexander Collins, CA Insurance License Number 0H24806. Pinpoint number 2024-172261. Expiration April 2026.